Welcome to Unloose the Goose, episode 41, Fight the Fear. We were motivated by this one just because everybody's running around like chickens with their heads cut off. And for those of us who raise meat at home, we know what that looks like. So we thought we'd talk just a little bit about hesitations that people are facing in living their lives the way they want to, and anything else we feel like talking about. But before I dive in, I want to introduce who's on today's show. First, we have Xavier Hawk from Byron.com. He's on today, and we have a new member of the gaggle. Some of you saw Nisi Bali on our episode with Sal Mayweather a few weeks ago, and we thought she was such a good fit to a podcast on agorism that we invited her to become a goose. So welcome, Nisi, as the latest goose edition. Say hello.
Thank you so much. I know Nicole's like, do you think you could ever make Wednesday work? And then she told me why, and I was like, oh, that's so nice. And yes, I want to be friends with all of you. I want to come play. So thank you guys for having me.
And I'm not a big genderist, but it is nice to have another woman in the gaggle. I'm just going to put that out there. Sometimes you guys do it out a lot on the show.
Totally. It's awesome.
So we hopped on MeWe and talked about what people might want to hear about, but let's start with this fear thing, because I know watching Baseline in the morning that Xavier's seeing it. I know you see it, Nisi, all the time. Yeah. What do you guys think is behind people hesitating to just go live their lives the way they want to?
Well, you want me to start?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm hearing first of all, there's all these homes divided. What I'm hearing a lot is, the homes are divided, at least in town. I think I'm the only one who's in town. You guys are all out somewhere. I don't really know how far you are.
I live in a pretty big municipal area of South Florida.
Okay. So I'm immersed in town on purpose because I wanted to teach people how to, eat real food. And a lot of people have asked me why I don't farm and why I haven't moved. And I just feel like that's because the people need me here. I talk to mothers and fathers and, people who have children, fathers and mothers who are trying to, save their children or remediate their health with real food. And they just don't know how to cook. And I just felt like my work was here because I know how to do all of those things and I love to teach it. And I wanted to support the real farms because we wanted the real food. So there was that part of it as well. And so now when I'm talking to people, I have my food church here in town. We keep the doors locked and we are sovereign. There's no mandates required in here. We don't let the government create emergencies that don't exist, and we don't give them permission to tell us how to live our lives because we are sovereign under God, which I guess I'm not even supposed to really say that either, apparently, but I do it all the time because that's what I believe. And then on top of that, the government is here to serve us. We created these systems to create ease for us, and now they've become our masters. And so I find that a lot of the members at the beginning were coming in and they were relieved that they could come in and just be like normal. And then somewhere over the past year, I've got folks now who are starting to mask up when our governor just said you don't even have to do it outside, of course, not inside. But and I'm like, what is the shift, And I started asking them, I'm like, what's your diagnosis? Because you should only be masked up if you have a diagnosis. I mean, I don't know what's wrong. And if there's something wrong, I need to know because we're here to make you gain health with real food. That's my actual work, right? So I can help you turn that around if your immunity is shot or something's wrong. And I find that they just are like, I just think that I need to do this now. These are some of the words that they say to me, like actually. But they won't explain why. And one lady said, well, my daughter just had a baby and she won't let me come see the kids if I'm not careful. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell on you. So I don't know. I don't know. It's very strange. What do you guys think? You seeing anything like this?
X,
I
what's
haven't
that?
seen people putting on more masks. I've in Florida here, they as soon as Biden said you either have a vaccine or you know, have to wear a mask. And I'm like, finally, everybody's going to stop wearing masks. And I've actually went into places like Publix and stuff, and it's like a half and half ratio now. People, like half of the people are not wearing masks. And I'm making sure to be like, hey, nice to see you smiling. Nice to see you smiling, you know? Um, and everybody's like, kind of like winking, like, yeah, totally, you know? I think I, I've said this before on other episodes. I think the core fundamental thing is that people are afraid of dying. And if they're afraid of dying, then they will be afraid of every other thing that has any degree of uncertainty in their lives that could lead to death, even if it's not realistic, right? So I want to go change this lifestyle. I want to go and live it out in the country. Well, a lot of things could go wrong, and they run through the list, and that's like they're afraid of dying, so they're very risk averse, right? And I think it has to do with God in a lot of ways. Like if you have a good relationship with God, whatever that God is to you, and you feel a degree of eternality, like you're eternal, your soul is eternal, then there's less of that fear, and you might be willing to take more risks, you know? So that would be my underlying thing is always comes back down to fear of death. I died when I was 17. I know what it's like, so I have no fear of it. And so I'm very risk tolerant. Like I'm willing to stand up and be like, hey, you're an idiot, or hey, you know, and just seem unpersonable, or be willing to have people think of me poorly or whatever. And that gives me the freedom to exercise my freedom and be fully myself and express myself, you know?
I
I
agree.
think when
I
I
last when
thought
I
of
last
this,
started. Oh, sorry.
that's okay. When I thought of this topic, I wasn't necessarily thinking about masks, although that's a good one. I was thinking about monkey see, monkey do in a lot of ways, where people come to us and say, how do you live as an agorist? How do I do this thing? And there'll be this long conversation about ways to go around regulation, like Nefi's food church, or ways to be able to procure things people want, like raw milk or other things of that nature, or ways to just start a business now rather than waiting 6 months for a patent to come through, or a trademark registration, or a brand to be developed. And they just don't want to start baking the cookies and selling the cookies, or printing the mugs and getting those out, because they don't have their paperwork done. And I think, what are you afraid is going to happen if you start selling this mug with my logo custom engraved on it, and you get caught by the logo police? Like, I don't even know who's going to catch you, by the I'm not registered police. You know what they're going to do? They're going to send you a letter. That letter is going to say, I notice you don't have a business registration. You need to have a business registration to operate in this municipality. Here's how you get a business registration. And if you don't, we'll fine you, or there'll be a consequence. Sometimes
Right.
there are no consequences, but people are afraid to get started because they don't want to get that letter. It's just a piece of paper in the mail.
They're too afraid of the government. We've become so afraid of the government that we established, and that is the problem. And there's no reason to fear the people that work for us. And they have to follow. I mean, to me, the powers that be, I mean, I've been up against all of them. They're easier to deal with than the mob.
Yeah.
Because the mob that's been raised right now, I'm not going to deal with. But the government, like USDA, FDA, CDC, whatever, I don't care. Like, I'm on all their lists. They come after me all the time, and they can't do anything because they have to follow, they have to comply. And also, they're just not that dedicated.
That's a really true thing. If there's no reason for somebody to target you and spend time targeting you, they just want to get this letter that they sent that has an open end off their tick list, right? It's kind of like, I have a to-do list with 25 things. I want a to-do list with no things, so I can sit around and do what I want to do. If you can give them a means by which to get it off their to-do list, they're happy. On the other end, you can vex them until they hate you so much that they figure out how to get you off their to-do list. There's two sides to that coin. But when I think about agorism, it's such a simple concept, right? We're just living and trading and doing what we want to do the best way we know how, and empowering each other without asking permission. Isn't that about it?
Yeah, I think
God gave us permission, didn't he?
I think that, yes, and I think it's also important. Somebody just said something in the YouTube chat that's kind of it made me think about how to reframe all of this. If we live in a dangerous environment, people are willing to be more dangerous, willing to fight back, or to you know, like you said, make it difficult to be on somebody's to-do list, right? And it says once the inflation hits, the government's going to lose power and the mob will get angrier. And it's like when there is a breakdown in the moral fabric and in the social contract, where we have this overarching state that is impeding on everybody's freedoms, and at the same time everybody's afraid of being impeded upon. You know, people are compliant, but if things break down, like, who are you going to be compliant to? Then like, it's almost as if that breakdown kind of needs to happen to shake people up out of their stupor and say, oh wow, I'm actually have to do some things and make sure I protect myself and make sure I make something happen. And when survival is more key, they're willing to do more to make that happen, because the fear of the thing is worse than the actual thing, if that makes any sense.
The fear of the thing is almost always worse than the actual thing. I do my taxes every year, and people who listen to my podcast hear me talk about getting my taxes prepared. And I think I talk more about preparing my taxes than I actually spend time doing the reporting. But I so hate doing that reporting that I will spend hours talking about doing the reporting and not doing it. I think you're right on with that one, X.
Yeah, they're scared of the unknown, and I think that I mean, Nicole, don't we just want, I mean, me and Nicole were just talking the other day, and we're just like, can you just get up and do something? Just do it. Jump in the pool, because we can't tell you what it feels like here in the pool, but
Right.
it feels damn good. Feels good. Feels good in the pool. And, you know, you might start sinking for a second, but you're not going to sink that long, and you'll start coming up, and then you'll start swimming. You'll be like, oh, maybe you're not going to do a proper stroke, but you can doggy paddle right on over and start enjoying the water, right? What do you think?
I agree. I mean, it's sort of like the adventurism that children have gets beaten out of them emotionally, sometimes physically. You know, social pressure, conform, fit into the box, fit into society. You can't have these, you know, fantasies. You can't pursue these dreams of yours unless it's like fits within the norm or fits within the structure. And the structure is more and more conformed and more you know, homogenized. And if the nature of the spirit, that which makes a human is the ability to play, is the ability to be silly or to imagine and make new things, that's what makes being human worthwhile. Otherwise you're just a cow like all of the other, you know, farm animals. And if we don't build a society that encourages that, then we don't have a society. We have a farce, and there's somebody sitting on top of that that gets to play in their own wicked ways. And it's important that we have that, and to just get out and do it, to exercise those freedoms, to exercise that inspirational power feels so good it justifies itself, you know. And how do you convey that? Well, by being wild, by being wacky, by being empowered, by being vocal and boisterous. And for me, it very much feels like I have to be willing to die to be this happy, you know. And if I'm not willing to, then it's not worth it, you know.
Yeah,
That's the
that
key
makes
right there, finding joy. Like, you just want to find joy every day, like whatever it is that's required. I mean, you know, when I was doing this, I was just thinking, like, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? What is the worst thing that anybody's going to do? Because, you know, let's just talk about the mug that you want to sell with your name on it or whatever. Like, you know, it's, what are they going to say? It's not illegal to possess the mug. It's not illegal for somebody to sell the mug or whatever, you know. It's just that, okay, if you are not following their rules, they're going to tell you that. That's about it. And like Nicole said, they're going to give you a warning. They want you to comply. They want you to get into the system.
Yeah, when you hear about people going to jail for not paying taxes, the amount of money they're not paying taxes on is huge. It's huge. It's not, I earned $100 and I didn't pay my 40%.
Right.
And my $15 registration fee for my business and my 200, whatever all of those things add up to. They don't have time for that.
So what do you think is the fundamental thing that holds everybody back in fear? Like what can they do to, A, what is the thing? And then B, what can they do to overcome it?
I think they're looking at their life. Most people have a fairly comfortable life. And it is uncomfortable to piss your friends off by telling them what you really think. It is uncomfortable to not know for sure that your paycheck is coming from your job, even though your paycheck may not be coming from your job. Many businesses are not that liquid, as we saw during the pandemic shutdowns when they could no longer pay their employees, therefore they got rid of them. They are unsure of how they will be in their communities if people find out what they really think, and if people see them do what they want to do. They're unsure of how to break out from what's been programmed as right in our society and wrong. And what's right changes with the wind. It's hard to keep up with, but we are programmed to want the right way, and everything else is the wrong way. There are two choices, right or wrong.
Yeah.
They have a hard time conceptualizing there's right and there's right and there's right and there's right.
How about I'm just always right in my world?
I took that approach, and I've got two examples, right? So ever since I was young, I was basically different than everybody else. And so I was always picked on. And when I was scared, I was always picked on. But when I was excited and or alive, I was always followed. People were like, dude, this is exciting, whatever it is, you know. And it made me think of like, oh, I'm gonna piss off my friends or whatever. And I've just recently, like through COVID, done that. Like I lost all of my good friends from childhood because I was like, this president is actually doing what he said he would do. And that was basically my statement. Not like, oh, I think he's amazing. Just like, he's actually the first president I've ever experienced that's doing what he said he would do. And everybody's like, you're a racist, you're this, you're that, you're evil. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, you guys are like the peace and love people. Like, how are you saying these things? Like, just use your brains. But they're afraid of the herd. You know, we are very much herd-like creatures. They were afraid of the herd and being counter to the herd because it would hurt. But it didn't really hurt. It just made it really clear, you know, what I wanted, you know. And once I started actually, like, even my family didn't understand me for very, very, very many years. But then once I started succeeding and doing what I enjoyed doing, they all kind of followed, you know. And it's like, if you take that leap and do the thing that's in your heart, A, you feel good, just period. And then B, the things that you were afraid of, or the people that you thought were going to be, oh, I don't like you anymore, you're going to be like, actually, this is kind of good, because now I don't have to deal with that sort of stuff or deal with the other things that came along with it. Like, the things that I've lost are not, they don't even come close to how awesome I feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And somehow you're making it work. I think a lot of the fear goes back to a you problem. Everything is a you problem. And, you know, for me, it's a me problem. For you, it's a you problem. I hear people say, my family won't let me do X.
Right.
I can't do that because my family won't let me. I can't switch to a ketogenic diet because my family won't let me, or my family won't do it too.
Right.
That's a you problem.
Yeah.
It's hard to eat that way when you're seeing ding dongs and Twinkies all the time, especially if you really like sugar. But it's a you problem, right? And if your family loves you, they'll be supportive. And if they don't, that's something to examine. If they're not going to support you in something you know is going to be good for you, if you're willing to do it in a way that's not going to destroy the family, because, you know, if you realize, hey, I need to do this other thing and my job's killing me, that's bad. But sometimes you need to take a few weeks to transition from the job to the other thing so that you can continue to pay whatever bills you need to pay, right?
Yeah.
If they're not willing to support you in that journey, then you need to ask why. And I think that's the hardest thing about choosing to live the life you know you should live, to live the best life you can live, right? Is that sometimes when you examine toxic relationships around you, you find out you accidentally married one, or one of them is one of your children, or one of them is one of your parents or cousins or best friends, somebody you spent your whole life thinking that's the person I can depend on. But can you depend on somebody who's not willing to at least try to support you in something or not quite sure they understand why you would want to do it?
Well, Nicole, nobody supports me and my family for what I do because it's so freaking extreme in their mind. They're like, you don't eat anything from the grocery store. You won't just, like, we can't cook for you because you don't want to eat stuff out of the store. You know, so, but if I was waiting for them to support me and like what I'm doing, I mean, I could wait for that. Or I could also just say, I don't care. You know, they just don't. And that is a hard call.
Yeah.
If you're waiting for your friends and your family to me, I just need the people in my house to support me, like my husband and my kids. We all need to be on the same page. And then my sister has her family. My mom has her family. One thing I'm gonna call my sister out a little bit because I really like the way that she and her husband, they want us to get together but not talk about anything that really matters because we don't agree. So it's just always
Not fun at all.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm the asshole that always shows up and just talks anyway. I'm that guy at the party, right? Like for years.
I'm very much like you. Okay, so I'm listening to you, and everything you say, I'm always like, "Yep, me too, me too, me too." And
Yeah.
they kind of kicked me out for the longest time. And I think if I was a guy, I could get away with it more in our culture because we're Indian and it's a very, like, the guys can say anything. But
Right.
a woman can't say that. And we're supposed to comply and we're supposed to conform and we're supposed to follow. We cannot be leading.
You grew up in America, got that whole vibe. So you're like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize. I thought you'd stop speaking. I think it froze.
No, go ahead, Xavier. Say it.
Okay, you're fine.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, you've got the whole like, I am free to be whatever I want to be now, you know, and it's like you made this happen. So
I know. I used to tell my mom, I'm like, why did you come to this country if you didn't want me to be independent and all these things?
Right.
And you keep telling us that you don't want us to need anyone or anything or whatever. And because I'm so strong, you hate me because I just say anything, whatever And so, at some point I had to just, and again, it's like Nicole says, it's a me thing. So I had to just love myself enough to just say, fuck it. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And they will have to love me where I'm at. And also I just keep smiling. Now I'm doing the whole smile and wave thing, with a bourbon. And I just, whatever y'all are doing, I'm doing like all these other things that I think are helping to move community forward. And then you guys can be the followers, and I'm just here because I can only just love you where you're at. And I view them now like, how you just kind of view a toddler trying to walk. They're trying to walk because they're following this programming that I was never taught to follow in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did you raise me? Because you did raise me.
Yeah. So
well, they did raise you.
They raised me to be a free thinker, and now they're like, oops.
Yeah, that's a little too
that
free.
Happens.
Wait.
wait, that's too free. Too free. They'll probably like it anyway, though, long term.
They have their days of loving what I'm doing, and then they, whatever. And then, they'll tell me they admire certain things. So at some point, they do kind of have this appreciation, And all I want, like Xavier, you said, because I'm tuning in every day to the news, the real news, the Xavier Hawk news,
but baseline.
It's the only good news. And you said, that we're all gonna die. We were born dying.
Yeah, it's inevitable, right?
And also, we can't die.
Truly, it's like going from one dream to another dream. Like it really is. Like, I mean, I could go into my near-death experience and everything, but it's essentially like you exist, and all of the bullshit that you think that you are, all of these habituated responses that you have, like because of your upbringing, because of what culture or what socioeconomic status or all of this other crap that gets foisted on you becomes like the bullshit that you think that you are. And we all play like that's what we really are, instead of playing that's all of the things that I carry or can choose to be or choose not to be. And when we play that ego game, then it's hard to break out of that. And when you have a deep connection, spiritual connection, godly connection, whatever you want to call it, you recognize that you are eternal, and you're here to play, you're here to discover, you're here to learn. So why not take full advantage of that?
We were having that talk yesterday about being centered and earthed, and what you're saying is basically that, we're here to see it, feel it, touch it, create it. We're creators. We're creators. If we're not creating, then we're not having fun. We're supposed to play and mold the clay. And if we're not molding the clay, then, we're not living up to our potential. But, our potential could be that we just want to come here and lay in bed all day. And that's okay too. If you just want to come,
I miss those days.
Well, I'm just saying.
5 days a week at 4 a.m.
Yeah, when we were kids and we just laid in the grass and stared at the sky, that was great. And what was wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. And I encourage my children all the time. I'm like, just go lay down and stare at the sky and see what the clouds are telling you. Like, what are the trees whispering into your ears? Just go and listen to what is happening and just chill out. There's nothing serious going on here, right?
That's part of the fun of playing the news diet game.
Oh,
you
yeah.
go off the news for 2 weeks completely and don't let anybody talk to you about it. And then you look at the headlines and it's like a clown circus news.
Yeah.
It's news theater. And you realize 2 weeks ago, they were still talking about Orange Man bad. They're still talking about Orange Man bad. And he hasn't been president for a while, right?
Right.
Nothing has changed.
I'm like, who's Orange Man?
And shortages and war and, all of this stuff, none of it changed. And my not reading it for 2 weeks had zero impact on if it changed or not.
Yeah.
And
I've been following the news for like a year, Nicole, and people are like, how do you operate if you don't watch the news? I'm like, what did I miss? What did I miss? Tell me what is so important.
Yeah.
Somebody, well, did you not see in the news that these people that are really rich are like creating fake social media accounts for their children so they can get into university? I was like, you're telling me that influential people are buying their way into the institutions and that's new?
But that's the thing, right? It's like there are a lot of fucked up people, and like for some reason the world seems more fucked up because we're hearing about them being so fucked up. Now, you, Nicole, you, Neethi, Jack, John, Sal, all of us are like trying to make something not only of ourselves, but in a way that affects the world in a good way. Why are we not the news? Like it's psychological too, because they say what bleeds leads, right?
Yeah.
People are attracted to danger, to tragedy, for whatever reason.
Chaos and confusion.
Yeah. And I think it's because everybody wants to make sense of confusion or chaos. But there are people who literally wake up to figure out how they can screw somebody over and get more for themselves. And this is like a serious disease that the whole species suffers from. Now, why it is set up this way, and that is rewarded, and that no good deed goes unpunished, is beyond me. And like,
I'll tell you what.
I don't just want to settle for, hey, I'm an agorist and I'm doing stuff the way I want to do it. I will not settle until it's like, hey, I'm somebody who's doing good. I want to connect with all the other motherfuckers who are doing good and make that the norm, because that other shit, I'm done with it, you know?
Xavier, it's set up that way on purpose. Now, you know, everything that we're talking about goes right back to 1910 and the Flexner Report. Everything. So I don't know how many people are we allowed to talk about the Flexner
Talk
Report?
what you want to talk about. It's okay.
Okay. So in 1910, that was when John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie became the primary investors in pharmaceutical. And they wrote this Flexner Report and they filed it with Congress. And they said that, and it outlined all this stuff, which is what you're talking about, Xavier. They're saying they centralized everything, all the systems. That was when that happened in 1910. And it was the same time that they decided that we needed a standard of care as far as medicine goes. And then they said that they need a centralized food system because we need the FDA or somebody to look over the food and make sure that it's taken care of. And, you know, Americans really should just have the comfort and the knowing that we're taking care of them. And so Congress really ought to put more energy towards that. And they created all this overregulation and all of this crazy. And then they decided, it's okay. You guys don't have to worry about schooling your children. We'll school them for you. We'll create this, you know, public education system. Everybody should be equal. Everybody should be equal and equally receive this equal education, you know, or whatever. So they did all of that with that Flexner Report. And it de facto became law. It's not a jury, you know, law. It's a de facto law. And everyone believes like children have to go to public school. No, they don't. If you just want to keep them home, you can do whatever you want, but they're like, it's against the law. And then they fearmonger everyone into believing that someone's going to come take your kids away if you don't take them to school because it's the law. Well, it's a de facto law. It's not a de jure law, and it won't stand up. Like, they can't make me bring my kids anywhere if I don't want to. So that goes back to, you know, what is happening? Well, you know that we always have these two universes that are simultaneously operating. There might be more, as maybe me and Xavier, we could all go into these fourth dimensions, but let's just pretend like there's only the two. Okay, there's only the two. So if it's the two, then there's the civilized one, and then there's the uncivilized one. So, you know, like if you're living with your feet in nature, and, you know, that's the uncivilized one. And then you have the civilized one. If you go see, you know, people who are currently still operating in an uncivilized manner, they're healthier. They're just like the wild animal. They don't even need doctors. They're just thriving, robust, happy, joyful. And then the civilized ones, they're the ones that are all trying to figure all this stuff out. And they think it's the competition, Xavier. They've been trained to operate in competition. But the laws of the universe, the law of nature, is abundant. It's infinitely abundant. There is no need for competition. So those of us who are operating in the civilized world, knowing that there's infinite abundance, we can thrive because we are not worried, because we know the well-being is everywhere. And then the other ones are the ones that are struggling because they've really taken their institutional training to heart, and they believe that they have to effort to be successful. I mean, I just don't believe that. I'm not saying I don't work. I do work and I do a lot of things, but my efforting isn't effort. It is fun. Like, you wake up at 4. You can't do what you do, Xavier, if you were not having a blast.
I actually really enjoy it. I do have to admit, like, once I actually do this episode, and like, I love editing video too, which is really wild. And I it's like a meditation for me. So I like getting wacky and zany very early, and it sets my day in the right direction. And then like my whole day is super productive all business.
And you're so spiritual with it. It's really, really good. I mean, I love that part of it. And it's just funny. Hello, citizen. Good morning, citizen, or whatever you're saying. All those things that you do. It's fun. But like, if that's the point, if we choose what we're doing, like Nicole, you kept saying you didn't like roasted coffee, but I think you kind of like the roasting of the coffee. You love the smell of it or something. I don't know.
I do like roast. I like drinking coffee too, but I like roasting coffee.
Yeah.
It's good, man. I can't wait. 2 weeks.
Ariel X 182 says, do something you love and you will never work a day in your life. And this is
Yeah.
very true. There's this song that my family and I listen to. I forget who wrote it, but it says, hey, 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 I'm on vacation every single day because I love my occupation.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah. I know that.
hey. Yeah, so it really is like sort of an anthem for us right now. It's like, choose what you love and do what you love.
Yeah.
And if you're afraid, then take baby steps, but do take steps because it'll make you feel good. And that feeling good will overpower and override the fear.
And that feeling good makes you see pathways to do more of the things you want to do. Because the other thing is, if you're doing something you don't want to do, why are you doing it? Well, maybe you're doing it to get you towards doing something you want to do, right?
No, it's fear.
Well, then enjoy
I
the
don't want to
thing
be
you don't
homeless.
want to do. Like yesterday, I spent the whole day sanding a floor, which is not something I would usually choose to do, but it's a step towards something I do want, which is revenue from that property, which is a rental property. And sanding floors isn't that bad. You got a respirator on, whatever. It's just work, right? Gives you time to be in your head and think about stuff. There were lots of things to enjoy about that time in your head. Somebody actually on YouTube was asking about meditation. That's not meditation, but it kind of is for me. If I'm physically active and it's something that doesn't require high intellectual capacity, like sanding a floor, my brain goes places that, wow, it's really fun. So that does become fun at that point. And I think that's something people spend a lot of time with their perspective on what they're doing as negative, when all you need to do is understand the why. And if the why is positive, you have a different feeling about all that you're doing. And that makes it easier to take those steps towards living the life you want to live.
Yeah, I think that I love physical labor because it is meditation for me. I mean, there's meditation, but then there's that satisfaction that you gain from, especially, when we're doing all these other jobs, Nicole, like running the companies and having to figure all these other things out that are just very administrative and whatever. We can really appreciate and enjoy time to just really get physical and get down and dirty and do something. And it is a meditation for us. And it's nice. It's a relief to know that we're making some headway towards our goals, but we're not having to think, we're not having to really, put all that other energy out there. We don't have to worry about anything. We can actually like immerse ourselves in the joy of making that floor as perfectly sanded as possible, or, whatever it is that you're doing.
Are there any books that you all have read that have helped you get onto your path?
That's a good question.
Not specific to your actual work, be it coffee roasting or meat providing, but like the entrepreneurial spirit or the something that inspired you to actually spread your wings and go further. I know for me, there was a number of them, but one that really sticks out was Jonathan Livingston Seagull. If you're familiar with that book by Richard Bach, it was basically about a seagull who didn't want to just live to try to get food and fight with everybody else to get more food. And he wanted to fly. He had wings. He recognized that this was a gift, so he took his wings to the furthest that he could, and eventually became like the bird messiah, the seagull messiah. It was like a story, a parable of Jesus in so many ways, but more in depth, more spiritual in some ways, and to really like soak up life and what it means to be alive. And he had to go and be kicked out of his tribe, right? Which is something that we had touched on in the very beginning of this talk. Being willing to be on your own, being willing to face the ridicule or non-acceptance of your people, and really be about something other than just surviving or trying to get by. being about something that is important beyond your own life. And found out he did throughout the course of his adventures that there were others like him, and a whole saga ensued, and it was ultimately about the meaning of life and the purpose of existence and this eternal nature of the soul. And that kind of inspired me to be like, why would I want to live small, right? Like, I read all of these books, watch these movies about heroes and people who've done these things, and what would it take for me to be able to fulfill my life's purpose, my life's mission, so that when I die, because I will, I look back and I say, hey, that was fucking cool, instead of like, oh, I wish I had done this or I wish I had done that, like. And so I've done risky things, but incredibly, I'm still here, all in one piece, no broken bones, no cavities, like miraculously, right? So
Yay!
yeah, so I
Winning.
find winning, right? I've got a beautiful family, like nice place to live, doing amazing work. It's like, that is literally the only outcome of pursuing your dreams and pursuing your passions and being fully alive.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is probably most people don't know I have a degree in classical music and German. And I'm a fluent German speaker, although if I were to speak it right now, I'd have a terrible accent, and it would take me probably 10 minutes of speaking it to get
You have a Tennessee German accent, the German
shift in my brain to remember how the language goes. And one of the things that gave me strength to get through a lot of adversity in my journey has been Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which the poem for that is translated into English, but in German, the meaning is a little bit different. And those words and that music and how it all works together has proven strength. When I feel my confidence down, which happens sometimes to all of us, especially if I'm about to go give a speech, I blast me some Beethoven and I go out there and I seize the world.
Nice.
Right? Because the message of that poem is that all people from different walks of life or classes are one people united in love, right? And
Yeah.
it's joyful and it's in God, and all of that is very powerful for me. And I would say another one that has empowered me in my entrepreneurial journey is the 4-hour work week. Do I work more than 4 hours? Hell yes, I work more than 4 hours.
I think most people do. Yeah.
But the mind shift of taking back responsibility for your time,
yes,
is what you learn in that book.
Major thing. Yeah.
And it's a you problem that you're working all the time. It's a you problem that people don't understand how to do the stuff you're delegating to them. It's a you problem, right?
Right.
And it's up to you to fix it. And sometimes fixing it takes a lot more time than it takes to do the thing. But once you do that one time, if it's replicable, that saves you time in the long run if you can find somebody to execute.
And so you will undoubtedly face challenges and like you will undoubtedly face dark nights of the soul and days that you are like, what the? But you know what? You will always face those, whether you're doing what you want to do or what you don't want to do. So you might as well be doing what you enjoy doing to face those, right?
Yeah, sometimes you come home and the goats got out and you got to go chase goats. It's just the way it is, right?
Man, I was ready to shoot a damn goat once because it kept jumping out of the fucking fence, and like it got into my neighbor's bushes, and he like has all these ornamentals, and he's like tries to keep them nice.
And it's like, yummy.
Yeah. And I was feeding my kid one day, and like I was home alone, like I couldn't go take the goat. I couldn't go get it out of his bushes. And he's like, I'm gonna call the police. And I'm like, don't bother, just shoot the damn goat.
Dinner right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Lisa, do you have a book or anything like that helped you on your journey?
I was trying to think of that, and I mean, all right, before I was doing what I'm doing, this wasn't planned. This was just, we talked about this. I didn't plan to do what I'm doing. It was the crisis that pushed me into this, and I just kind of woke up in it out of my grief or something. I don't know, I don't know, but in my past life, and by that I mean like before marriage, I was, I was big into real estate. I was an SOS person. I used to go in Like we didn't own anything, we didn't manage anything, but we would just go in and help people go from the red to the black. I was very much in that world with all the success speakers. And so I can't say that there was any one specific book or anything that shaped me, but it was just all of those things that I always wanted to help lead people to grow and develop into being better than they were and never be feeling diminished. I just really, that's really what I wanted. I didn't want people to be feeling diminished, and I wanted to show them how they could be the best somebody that they could be. And so when I was doing that work, my work was to go into a collapsing like business that was falling apart in the red. They had no budget because they were in the red, and I had to turn them around and make them go in the black. So maybe it wasn't the book as much as it was that experience. And because I was with that company that was so aggressive, they used to send us to all the success seminars back in the day. I don't know if you know what those were, but
Yeah.
Like Landmark and some of those other ones.
yeah. And then so, because we didn't have like podcasts or anything to motivate us. So they would send us to these, success days and, success weekends or whatever. And I would say, probably
What about successful entrepreneurs that have podcasts or do things like I'm a big fan. I'm a
Of the
big
phone
fan.
ringing.
Dude, I have it on Don't Disturb Me. I don't know why it's not. I don't know why it's listening.
they break through. They break through. Like Rashard. Like I enjoy listening to him. Or I did. I mean, actually, when I was driving the kids when they were tiny, and we had a micro school that we used to go to. It was small and it was kind of far, so we had this long ride. But we would be listening to Brendan Burchard, and the kids thought it was cool. Like they were learning too with me.
Dude, can you believe some families listen to Baseline? Like they have their 4-year-olds, their 5-year-olds, and their 7-year-olds.
Why not?
I send Baseline to my
Why
kids.
not? I mean,
Really?
sometimes you say
Yeah,
F-bomb
I
or
tell my
whatever.
17-year-old, I'm like, this is the news you have to listen to every day.
So I had so many parents telling me that. I was like, oh my God, I curse all the time. Are you crazy? So that's why I started bleeping.
They listen to music. I mean, like our teenagers, they're listening to music. I mean, and they don't seem, all these new people, the new artists don't know how, they're using old artist talent and then putting their bad words on top of it. So, I mean, I don't know.
Jen Rad in the comments said Celestine Prophecy series. That was a fundamentally like transformative book for me. I think it was for millions in high school. Like I used to go to the bookstore, I guess whatever it used to be called, Brookstone or something, before Barnes and Nobles. There was something that it was before Barnes and Nobles. And I used to go there and just sit in the self-help section and read all of the books. And I found Celestine Prophecy when I must have been like 14 years old. And I read it, and it changed my life. Like I could start seeing auras and all of these things. And that was a huge one for me. And I know John Bush, he loves Grant Cardone. That's one of his big guys that he follows. Yep. I like Gary Vaynerchuk, and this guy named Brad Lee. He's a total like just tough rhino kind of guy, smokes cigars and like, cusses and everything. And I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm digging this guy's vibe. Yeah. Oh, also in Jack was a huge influence.
Yeah, Jack. I was going to bring that up because it actually this segues into what I wanted to ask next.
Good.
Did you listen to Jack's podcast from yesterday yet? Which the answer is usually no to this. So he's just been on vacation, and he just came back this week. And yesterday he went all gloom and doom on us.
Oh shit!
Oh yeah, it was great in a Jack way, right? So it's not like it's the end of the world, you're gonna die. But his outlook on the next 2 years of our economy is not super positive, and shortages. And then he lands on what can you do to build resilience? And I kind of wanted to bring that up today because the fear of not jumping in to take care of yourself, the fear of not bothering to follow basic tenets of, well, maybe I should have a 3-month food supply or something on hand, and those sorts of taking care of yourself things, or going down a path where you have alternative sources of income beyond your job, just in case your job melts away. That inaction should be scarier than the fear of trying something new. And then I heard Jack's podcast and I thought, what do you guys think about the next 2 years and the best way to build resilience in yourself and your community?
I listened to the last episode I listened to was right before he went on vacation.
Yeah.
With the futures guy. I love that episode. That was so good. And so in that one, he's talking about how the economy is going to be like the Roaring 20s, which is interesting because when we moved into this space, I said, I want this space because I'm going to make a speakeasy here.
A meat
and because I'm going to keep the door locked, you're going to have a password, and that's how it's going to go. And so when he said that, I was like, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Because we got everything rogue established from everything from the rogue butchering to the whatever. We will be controlling our food system for the community. And, look, I don't want a homestead. I just don't. Okay. I think it's cool, but I don't want to. But we have established what we've established here so that for the other people that are like me that don't want to do that, we can all put or even if they are homesteading, but they're missing something, like they can't do a dairy cow or whatever, something. They can come here, and we have a lot of homestead members also that are doing a lot of their own stuff, but then they come here. But everybody's going to want to have a speakeasy or somewhere to go hang out and just chill and just enjoy yourself. And so that was what that guy on his podcast was saying, is that it's going to be going back to, get ready. It's going to be like the Roaring 20s, and it's totally going to be black market and, whatever else. And I've already been preparing everyone in my food church to, now that I'm thinking like John Bush and Freedom Cell, I'm like, oh, yeah, you guys make sure you have, get to pivot so that you have some income outside of whatever, because they're giving us the 2030 deadline, the Mr. Glow or whatever they are. If that's their thing, I'm like, okay, let's just say within 5 years, get your act together, get it together and like pivot. And if that means to dissolve a little bit of things and, but I don't think anybody should not be interested in diving into their passion right now, but just do it rogue. Plan on it, plan on diving into it rogue, and you should be successful. I mean, if you're one of those people that wants to do something, but you believe that you can't do it or you're worried about what's going to happen with the economy, you can't be worried about what's going to happen with the economy. You have to just dive in but be prepared to do it in the ways that we're always talking about, or you guys have been talking about here, like with that whole freedom cell mentality, the other path.
I'm looking at the cryptocurrency markets, and it's like, it's
on sale.
Roaring, it is totally roaring sale. Like I see this as an echo of the 20s insofar as like everybody's going hot to trot. There's lots of money to go around. Cryptocurrencies is flying. All these nouveau riche, and just today it's like collapsed like by 30% or something, and that's huge, right? There are people that are like, I just lost $500,000. Like,
I know
that, and I'm like, yeah, it's like that.
I mean, they're gonna make it back tomorrow like that too. I mean,
it could, but I actually
further down.
I think it's going to go a lot further down for a while, and then it's going to come back and do like faster than it was before. I think this was planned. It's totally unregulated market. There's literally no way to regulate it. The cat's out of the bag, and like it's out of control. And that's why we're seeing the mass. That's why we're seeing the propaganda pushes for, totalitarian New World Order, fucking vaccines, passports, just like they're trying to do whatever they can because the whole thing is coming apart. And when Jack says, if I can imagine what he said, because we think a lot alike, and like I have never seen a scenario in my head where it goes full out zombie invasion, Mad Max kind of shit.
Yeah,
what I've seen is like a balkanization of the United States, food shortages, supply shortages, hunger, more rampant violence, people just on edge and not prepared. And like you said, Nicole, all of the reasons why you're scared to not do this is why you should be scared to not do this.
Do it. Yeah.
Right.
That's right. If you do this, we're telling you, do it right now. Do it right now.
Start it though. Like that's the other thing, because then people are like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. It's like, take one step.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it all in one day, but take a step. You know, and
Write an SOP.
Yeah, exactly.
Write an SOP because
an SOP.
I need
What's
to be
an SOP?
writing my SOPs.
Yeah.
Document. Well, and
I didn't have a plan for this, so you know.
his example was the gas shortage that we just had, which was completely unnecessary. And then he went back to, why is it happening? Is it because the pipeline was shut down? Not exactly. That was the media event that made it worse.
No, it's the same reason that the lumber companies are sitting on all their lumber and artificially squeezing it. And then it's the same reason why the farmers are being paid 1.5 times more to burn their crops than to not deliver them.
Well,
There's
how about we're holding our
going
lumber, Xavier?
What's that?
All of my farmers are holding their lumber because we're not going to sell it for cheap.
No,
We're just
I unloaded some OSB for what I paid for at retail.
We're selling the lumber direct. We just told them we're not gonna sell it to the companies because they want to pay us crap for it. So we're just selling. We're like, I've been calling all the general contractors around here. Come get lumber from us. Don't go to Home Depot.
It's all completely manufactured. Somebody just Ariel X182. It is. It's all like and that's what I go back to. It's like there are shit bags in positions where they should not be. And we need a system of accountability to manage this many fucking human beings in a complex system that has to have accountability. And like you said, Neethi, like the thing in 1910 with the Rockefellers and the foundations centralizing everything and making these systems and then allowing corrupt people to get into that place.
Allowing it was built on it. They started it.
I want to go back to something Neethi said as an example of you can get started. Neethi knows people who make lumber. Lumber is selling for a lot of money right now. Neethi is smart. Neethi knows, I know how we can make more money. We can find people who need lumber and sell it to them directly.
Yeah.
It's that mindset that we're talking about here, right?
Yep.
Where there are going to be opportunities in this up and down wave if you're willing to see them. And that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
Yeah, because I was like, I know people, I mean, I'm trying to get all this construction done, right? And I find out nobody wants to give me bids because they can't get lumber. I didn't know they were not talking to me because they weren't sure how to get the supplies to give me a bid.
No. There is lumber. It's just double and triple the price.
Well, what I'm saying is here, the guys were having trouble getting the lumber. And they just weren't talking to me. So then I tried a different strategy. I sent them a text and I go, hey guys, I have lumber on my farms and we want this project done. Can I get a quote? Everybody showed up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, did you just need supplies? Yes. Okay, come get them from us, but you can't get them for any of your other jobs until you do my job. And then you can have all the lumber you want to do any of the other jobs. We have a lot of lumber. We're harvesting it every day.
So that right there, you can't get any lumber until you do our jobs first. Simple, makes sense for you, but that is out of fucking control in the larger market. Somebody says, oh yeah, you can't get the lumber unless you do what I want first. And then they turn that. I'm
trying to be nice.
You're being nice about it. No, I get it. You have, like, it's not a big fucking scheme. It's just like, I got my shit and I need it done, right? But like, there are people out there who take that and then spin it. And we're seeing that in oil. We're seeing that in food. We're seeing that in lumber. We're seeing it everywhere. And it's because, again, fear, right? They're afraid that something, they know what Jack knows, what we all know, something crazy is going to be taking place in the next 2, 5, 10 years, right? And so everybody's like trying to get all their shit together. And whoever's stupid enough to not, it's sort of like, well, they're left holding the bag, essentially.
Well, and if society melts down and you're not prepared at all, by the way, and you've learned skills, you've at a minimum learned how to take care of yourself rudimentarily, like you can live in a tent perfectly comfortably.
Yeah.
If you've learned that, then if everything melts down, you're like, I can live in a tent. I'll be fine. Yeah, he's got his knife on.
I literally carry a knife with me all day, every day, to remind myself that I have these skills, that I could go walk out into the woods and be fine, take my family out into the woods and be fine and thrive.
Yeah.
Because that also gives me confidence, right? Like
Right.
whatever comes my way, I can handle. I literally stopped a shooting yesterday, 2 days ago, and like I started panicking. I'm sitting here in a suit in a meeting, and these guys roll up and they've got guns and they're ready to fucking shoot somebody, because they wanted to collect some money from somebody, not me. And I'm like, I'm in the same room as these people, and like my guy, my friend, somebody I know is going to get shot if I don't do something. So I just started baselining my fucking way through the day and through the conversation, put on a bunch of wit, a bunch of charm, and said, listen, we're all reasonable fucking human beings. We can figure this out and everybody can go away happy somehow. Let's make that happen.
Yeah.
And it's like, like literally, like I was breathing and saying, today could be the day. Let's see where this leads.
Wow.
I'm going to do the right thing,
Xavier runs in tougher circles than I do. How about you, Nisi?
Yeah, I live in my very own little world over here, and yeah. I mean, although I understand and what you're saying, to feel powerful or feel better when I'm feeling whatever. I've been taking my 17-year-old to the range, and we're just shooting because practicing. We're just practicing, like and he's like, playing games because you can get the different, targets. So he does the hostage target just for fun, and he tries to see how far it can go and how,
Right.
So it's a game, but it's also not. It's also skills and also, muscle memory and whatever. And a lot of folks would be like, you take your son to the range. And I'm like, look, when you're in these chaotic times when everything is so freaking unexplainable, then your 17-year-old is not stupid. And they're just like, I'm like, look, you just need some basic life skills. Can you be the shooter? You be the shooter, okay? You just be really good at that. And
we've had something going on here on I-24 where shootings are happening. Like a car comes up behind another car and just starts unloading for no reason. And I'm hearing stories like that all over the place of people just getting violent for no good reason because they're frustrated. That's something I wouldn't have even thought that was possible 2 years ago here.
Yeah.
A solution for frustration. I mean,
now they're saying be careful on I-24. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to I-24 right now.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Somebody, Ariel X has had some great comments in the chat today. How to flaunt your wealth in 2021. Practice shooting on wooden targets because bullets are really expensive and wood is really expensive.
Wood is too, yeah.
It's like $1 a bullet down here.
Airsoft gun. Buy an airsoft gun.
You can't even, in some stores, you can't even buy rounds unless you're shooting there. And they won't sell you rounds unless you're buying a gun, and they'll only sell you the rounds for that gun. But if you buy that gun, they'll sell you like, a lot of rounds for that gun.
Interesting.
We have memberships over here that have been going on, and I never saw that here before. And they just want you to come all the time. They have all these incentives to come on a regular basis. So I always just buy extra ammo every single time. They don't know.
So here's some basics, right? Like, I'm not an investor in terms of giving advice, but I keep 4 to 5% of my portfolio in goods, gold, silver, guns, bullets, seeds, liquor, tobacco, things that people will always want, right? And then, the rest in a lot in crypto, a lot in land, and some stocks. I don't even like the stock market. I think it moves too slow for my taste. And frankly, like I love the crypto ride. So, but you also need some sort of diversified series of incomes, whether it's income from selling merchandise or selling coffee like Nicole does, or running a meat church in the way Neethi does, have something that you enjoy that you can derive profit.
Firon.com.
Firon.com. And buy fire tokens when they come out on the market, because it's going to be amazing. But yeah, being able to build some kind of means of value that you can exchange in your local community, and start learning how to do that online if you don't already. And definitely 3 to 6 months of stored goods. Toilet paper. You can start with toilet paper,
That's super easy to buy a cube at Sam's Club.
Yeah, you know,
I'm buying it from Who Gives a Crap. If you guys don't know them,
I've heard about that.
there's
Is that
Who
a real
Gives
thing?
a Crap, and they build toilets in third world countries, and their toilet paper. I didn't like the bamboo variety. It's pretty not cozy, but the recycled one is really fine. It's pretty much Charmin, like on the bum, and and you're supporting a nonprofit, and you can put it on, set it and forget it, and it just shows up.
Who gives a crap?
Who gives a crap?
I've seen commercials for them.
Really?
It's actually helpful to have feedback on the texture of the bamboo.
No shit. Seriously. No shit.
Yeah, don't get the bamboo one. Get the other one. And their paper towels suck, but the Kleenex is good. Actually, I have the Kleenex right here. It's just and they're funny.
Toilet paper,
They're
3
very
full length rolls.
Got a runny Danube. See, they're just funny. Everything they do is with a joke. They're very smart. Very smart.
Oh, okay. So it's $40 basically for 48 rolls, like $1 a roll.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's fantastic. And when all this crazy was going on, I was like, wait a minute, we tried that and now, yeah, we tried that one time before. Let me try it again. Let me see if they're still in business. And I was like, now they have this new recyclable variety. Let's try that one. Oh, this is way better than that bamboo one because when they very first started, it was only the bamboo. And I was like, that is not the way.
This is not
European public restroom texture. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know what it was. It's not the way. And we have 48 rolls of it. So I started handing it out as a funny gift because it just is funny. Because all of the rappers say, who gives a crap? So it's just,
you know what we should do? We should do an episode on hygiene, like a TSHTF hygiene, TSHTF barter, TSHTF TSHTF.
Can we find a new acronym for that?
I know. I'm like, what is it?
It's just too many letters.
Yeah. But basically,
how about common sense? Because you need to learn how to take care of yourself, and toilet paper, while very convenient, is not the end all be all. There are other ways.
You can have water. You can use a hose.
Or like a bunch of cloths that you have, 7 cloths, and each one is for a different day, and you learn how to wash things.
Wash them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of us go more than once a day, Xavier.
Yeah.
The girls need a little bit more, but we have old sheets that you can cut into millions of little squares. It is possible to do. It is. I mean, toilet paper was not the thing I was ever going to be running out for.
Yeah. Chocolate
Gasoline, on the other hand. Now I'm trying to figure out how to get our farms funded so that we could get the alternative, because we need them to be able to bring the food without gas.
Yeah, gas is a big one. And that's going back to Jack's episode. He just reiterated the method that he's been talking about for years, which is you buy on January 1st, you buy a gas can that's a 5-gallon gas can, you fill it, and you write a 1 on it, and you put fuel stabilizer in it, and you put it in your shelf. On February 1, you buy a gas can that's 5 gallons, and you fill it, and you put a 2 on it, and you put fuel stabilizer, and you put it on your shelf. At the end of the year, you have 12 times 5 gallons worth of gas. And on the next January, you take that one that's now a year old, you pour it in your car, top off your car the rest of the way, fill the can, and in that way, you always have gas stored, so that when something stupid like what happened last week with gas stations actually running out of gas, you don't care.
Yeah.
You don't care. And there's going to be more gas shortages. They were predicting them in July this year because of the reduction in fuel production related to shutdowns and people not buying gas. So then they stopped producing gas, and all of that rolls out after the fact. And now we're back driving places and visiting people and woohoo, and we need gas to do it.
Yep. And look into veggie diesels. I'm happy to
Well, that's what we're talking about, and like trying to just get solar. Like we were like, why can't we just get a solar truck? Like that's what we need, or whatever, wind, solar, something.
In World War II,
hasn't he figured this out already?
In World War II, they had a way of a wood burning car. Have you ever seen that technology?
Yeah, steam board.
Yeah, it's like a tank. It's a tank in a tank, and you have a fire, and it runs. Yeah.
I don't know that would work for the distances of our friends.
Yeah, depends on how far they're going. Horses, Nisi, horses. They'll keep rolling.
They will.
Man, you know how far they're gonna have to come with it, and I don't think that our horses are allowed on the street.
Where do you live, Nisi?
I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Right in the
I
capital.
feel like we need to have a gaggle gathering at some point.
I'd like that.
Between the three of us in person.
So where are you in Florida?
I'm in Delray Beach, a surf town.
Where is that?
Just south of West Palm Beach, north of Fort Lauderdale. So like southeast coast, about 40 minutes north of Miami.
Okay. We were just there not long ago. Well, last Thanksgiving we were there. We went there for Thanksgiving. Or in that, like we were 20 minutes north of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, that Boca Raton, Delray Beach area.
Yeah.
Boynton. Everybody's grandparents or parents live in Boca Raton.
One of my best friends is in Tampa. I think that's where Sal is too, right? He's in Tampa.
Sal's somewhere on the west coast of Florida. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
The elusive
I don't
Sal
like
Mayweather.
Yeah, I don't like the west coast of any place. Like I don't like the west coast of the United States. I don't like the west coast of Florida. It's weird.
Well, because it's inside. It's either that it's on the cold side of the ocean or it's on the inside of the dirty area over there. And I like to be out where it's flowing and moving.
Yep. That's right.
Okay, guys, we're coming on an hour and a half now. I'd like to go once around twice. So the first time around, for people who are still feeling that fear of getting started, what advice would you give them? I'm going to start with you, Xavier.
Oh, shit. I would say read Jonathan Livingston Seagull and read the Celestine Prophecy if you haven't, and find within you the willingness and the looking forward to death. Like look forward to that shit because it's gonna happen. And when you embrace that, then you can run towards it and you can actually get something done with your life in incredible steps. Okay, so yeah, embrace death and go.
Embrace death and go. Nisi.
I want everybody to know that, you get to create your own reality every day. You're doing that with your thoughts. You know that thoughts are things. And I just think that you get whatever you believe. And if they tell you that you're going to die because of this disease or you're going to die because of the apocalypse or whatever, then, and if you believe it, it's going to happen. So why don't you focus on and believe what you want to happen? I don't know if you guys are into like Marvel or, I'm not very much into TV that much, but like Marvel is the way. Oh, okay. So, what is the show that, the ones that time jumpers? I don't remember the names of titles.
Loki?
Okay, no, but like on the television shows that are related to Marvel, the time
jumpers. WandaVision and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier so far. Loki is coming, and it's the time jumping one.
We're watching all of those, but the show that was on before, I was hoping somebody was going to put it for me. Anyway, okay, so there's this book that in one of the shows, because they're traveling through time, right? And as they're traveling through time, they find all these different things. And they find this book, and it's a blank page book, but it's a magical book. And in this book, everything that you write happens immediately. It's happening like all the time. And I encourage any of you who are interested in trying to do something, but you're not quite sure, I want you to just try to envision that you've done it. Just what does it look like? And then I want you to start writing it down and start drawing pictures of it. And if you keep drawing and keep writing, and keep thinking about it, you're going to end up creating it. It's the way the world works. It's the momentum that you want to get going in that direction. So if the first thing that you do is just to make a list of things that you need to do to get ready to do that, or things that you want to research, that's a step, guys. Like that's one step. And it's a big deal. And then at the end of the day, when you're able to just say, well, I did these top 3 things, you took one big step in going in the direction of that.
Okay. Well, my thing is very similar to both of your things, although I'm not starting with the death perspective, although I think you're right on. You do need to not be afraid of that because it's coming no matter what you do.
Right.
It's more of an examine your I can'ts for the next week. Every time you think or you say I can't because blah 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 blah, examine that more deeply and find out, is it a you problem? If it's a you problem, choose one I can't and figure out how you can and just work on that one thing until you crack that nut. Whether it's I can't store gasoline because I don't have enough money to buy 5 extra gallons a week, or it's I can't find alternative ways to earn money because I don't have any more time left, or it's I can't go to this place because my family won't let me. Whatever those I can'ts are, there is an I can't in your next 7 days that you can. And that relates directly to your perspective, Nisi, perspective decision. If you turn I can't into I can, your whole world opens up and more things become possible. Okay, before we sign off from episode 41 of Unloose the Goose, let's go around again. Everybody tell us just how do we get in touch with you, or give a little promo before we wrap. Xavier.
I'm Xavier Hawk. At Xavier Hawk on all of the social media platforms except for Twitter because they suck. And you can reach me at t.me/Phiron, that's PHIREON, which is our Telegram group, or at Phiron.com, PHIREON.com.
Nisi.
I am Nisi Bali, and you can find me. Probably the best thing to do is farm2forkmeatriot.com. That's FARMTOFORKMEATRIOT.org. And all of my links are there, and I'm pretty accessible. So
awesome. And I'm Nicole Sauce from the Living Free in Tennessee podcast, livingfreeintennessee.com. I also love roasting coffee. So if you need coffee and want to support me, hollerroast.com. I did want to mention that John Bush is doing another round of the Greater Reset. That's at thegreaterreset.com. Definitely go check those out. That's probably why he's not on today. I'm sure he'll be back as soon as their Greater Reset sessions are done. What are you going to say, Xavier?
He still didn't invite me to speak.
He still didn't invite you to speak. Sigh.
what's he
Anyway, to help support Unloose the Goose, go to unloosethegoose.com to find links to all of our social. Our most activity is on Telegram right now. What is that? t.me/Unloose the Goose, probably. And then we also have a MeWe group that's starting to get a little bit more active. That's over at MeWe.com. With that, it has been episode 41 of Unloose the Goose. Honk.